So how are things in Brazil?
Yeah, it's quite good. Yeah, we are as everyone we are passing through that pandemic situation, yeah. And with peaks and sometimes the things are a little bit better and worse. We are a big country in the northeast. Sometimes we are in a good way. In the south, not so good. The things change. Let's say almost every week in
Yeah,
terms of cases and so on.
yeah,
But we are trying to pass through that. Yeah, we are inviting the people in the company to stay as much as possible at home. We are doing a lot of video conference and this kind of thing. And yeah, we are also passing through the winter time that makes the things a little bit worse in my point of view, because the people, when you are inside, you have to close the windows and this kind of stuff that's supposed to be worse for the contaminations and so on.
sure. Yeah, and also too, just from a work-life balance too. If it's wintertime, colder, you're staying inside anyway. Plus, you're working at home inside, all that. So that probably
Yeah.
doesn't make it as great as normal, I guess.
Yeah, but it's in the end, it will be also a kind of a learning process. Yeah, we are also learning the different ways to do our job, to keep in contact and make the things keep running. Yeah.
Sure.
In the business perspective, we also can say that the things are getting better. Let's say compared with, let's say, 2 months ago, our, let's say, forecast for this year is not the best one that you could, but it's not so bad as well.
Yeah. No,
It's the
sure. So, let's talk. I want to talk about your background. So so what's your current role with Randon Group?
Yeah, I'm in charge of all the innovation and technology involving product. I'm the director of technology and product innovation.
Got it. And that's
I have a kind of crossing, let's say, position. I'm in charge of that in all Randon companies.
yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So it includes Fras-le and all the other Randon companies.
Yes,
Okay,
right.
got it. So what's your background? How long have you been with Randon?
I can say that I started working in Randon about 5 years ago. Yeah, at Fras-le. I was at first I was kind of a product manager at Fras-le. I think the first time that we were together in some colloquiums all over the world, I was there as a manager, technical manager from Fras-le. Yeah, and let's say in the last 3.5 years, a little bit less, maybe 3 years, I got that new position as the head of innovation and technology for the products.
Got it. And what was your life like before Randon? Did you have an engineering background before you started?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I started as a kind of internal in the engineer department from Mercedes-Benz in Brazil. Yeah, and I made all my career inside of the engineering department at Mercedes. I left that company as a manager as well.
Got it.
After a little, let's say something around 15 years working there, and I moved to Randon. It means that in the end, I have a 20 years long career as an engineer.
Yeah. So tell me about CTR. So, I mean, the CTR, it's a huge, I guess, proving ground and I guess engineering center there on site or there in Brazil, right?
Right.
Yeah. So what's the background there? What's it used for?
Yeah, the CTR, I can say in the beginning, when I start work after Randon, by Randon, I was invited, let's say, I think it was like 1 year after I started Randon at Fras-le at that time, I was invited to take care about the CTR. At that time, it was the proving ground from Randon Companies. It was basically the name. And after like it was a little bit less, I'd say 3 to 6 months, I realized that we had a big opportunity on that facility. It was not just a proving ground. It was much more a potential center of technology. And then I came with that name, that the CTR basically means Center of Technology Randon, something like that. That in Portuguese makes more sense than in English, yeah, the way that we distribute the letters. But the idea was moved from the basically proving ground, just an area when we're just testing, but it sometimes for sure developing, but put more in engineering efforts, yeah, and trying to build up new things. And for sure that we keep supporting our companies on their developments, but as well some of our customers, the customer of our let's say partner companies, the other Randon companies as well, and they are frequently here inside. But the idea of that area, it was offering a different approach and trying to find different solutions used though that area. We are talking about an area that is quite big. Let's say we have about 92 acres here, with about 10 miles of different kind of tracks.
Oh, wow.
Off-road tracks, on-road tracks, we call specialty tracks, but you have cobblestones, we have body twists, we have potholes, we have different kind of, let's say, situations to simulate the Brazilian and also some international road conditions to support our developments and also our customer development.
So
can
you use it for all sorts of different vehicles too, like, you know, heavy truck and automobile and like passenger car and that sort of thing?
Since motorcycle up to off-highways vehicles like mining trucks or something like that, we have already tested inside. To be totally honest with you, we are putting in the last few months a little bit focus on the agricultural business, because we also saw in that region of the country, basically in the Brazil, we saw a big potential to help the big companies, the big providers of, let's say, devices and machines for that business. We can provide them a lot of support on the block and also on solving some problems, because we can do a lot of different kind of simulations. We have also in our facility, we have about, let me check the correct number in square feet, that it's about something like 1,000 square feet of a specific lab for structural analysis. We have some hydraulic cylinders that simulate the reality. We go to the field, we collect data, vibrations, accelerations, all the inputs we can get, and then we try to replicate, to code that in a fast way inside of our lab. That makes our development process also faster. Yeah, it's all the other, let's say, structure or facility we have inside that helps a lot. Again, the Randon Companies and some of our partners as well.
Yeah. So your customers can use the facility as well. They're there on site using it as well.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Now, is this for new products that haven't launched yet and you're testing and kind of developing the products, or is it products that you've already got out in the market, proven, and you're just there to kind of keep testing and making sure, or is it both?
Everything. Nowadays, we are doing basically all those things. We are supporting, let's say, some quality issues when they have, to try to simulate some specific situations they have in market and to help them to come with the solution in a fast way. We support let's say, the short-term strategy in terms of new products and new developments. And again, considering that new strategy that we built, that we call CTR Innovation Lab, it's basically the building where I'm inside, where we are working on that long-term, let's say, innovation solutions. We also use the structure of the CTR, all those labs and tracks, to help us on this development as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, because you all I know there was an announcement not too long ago I'm looking at here where you all, you announced the new CTR Innovation Lab. So I guess, is that something that's fairly new? You just launched this year?
Yeah, it's basically that building I mentioned.
Yeah.
We have about 300 square meters of buildings, vocated to innovation. Yeah, I put the squads inside. They just do innovation. We are running about 25 to 30 different projects, a lot of research inside. We have basically 3 big verticals. Yeah, we have a vertical when we are looking for solutions in focus on mobility. The other one, it's smart materials. And the third one we call embedded electronic or something like that, when we are looking to develop solutions involving electronics, IoT, and this kind of things. We are basically working on these 3 different, let's say, strategy pillars. Yeah, and the squads are, let's say, fit in one of those 3 pillars in general words.
Got it. Yeah. So since you, I want to talk about, I guess, innovation and more long-term, since your role is to focus on the strategy for more long-term projects. So what are you seeing, or what can you talk about? Like, what challenges do you guys see coming down the road as far as, either how the industry is changing or maybe how maybe the competition in the market? Like what are you focusing your time on as far as trying to develop, I guess, new business or new projects in the future?
Yeah, I can give an example that it's pretty fresh. Yeah, also considering the Fras-le's project, we help them a lot on find a solution for the copper free, for example. The copper free is not just removing the copper and done. Yeah, you know maybe better than me or as me that it's much more challenging to take out the copper from the pads. It's not just a challenger for Fras-le, but it's also a challenger for all the companies in the friction, let's say, business. Mm-hmm. And we help them to make a lot of different research and trying to find different paths to test and to simulate, and then to come back for a solution that fits on the market demands. Yeah, but coming back, for example, for your question, that maybe I answered this partially, is we are focused on that new technology. If you go to any different, let's say, discussions with the people that are basically involved in the automotive business, they will say you have to be aware about the impacts and the solutions involving autonomous driving, electrification. Yeah, and what the electrification, it's related to Fras-le. Yeah, if you have a friction material in a car that is using the electric engine to recover energy and to avoid braking, we have to have a specific friction for the situations where the friction will be demanded. But the friction will be not demanded. The friction will be demanded, at least in the, let's say, in the emergency situation, and that friction must be ready to help in that emergency. Yeah, when you need an emergency brake, the friction must be 100% prepared or available, let's say in this way, for that situation. It's also challenging. You know, as me again, that for example, countries like the US, mainly in the north, we have a lot of problems with corrosions and this kind of things that we have to be aware and find solutions for, let's say, that new reality in let's say middle term.
And I guess the last thing I want to talk to you about, this is kind of the opposite of innovation, but going back to like the drum brake. I know you all, for Fras-le, still a big player in the drum brake market. Right. And over in Europe, obviously it's gone down quite a bit. In the US, it's increasing using the air disc pad. What are you seeing? I mean, are you seeing that the drum brakes in the US and maybe some other parts will still be pretty strong for the next several years, or do you think it's going to really start ramping up using the air disc pad?
Yeah, if you put away the discussions about electrification, that things, let's keep the discussions about, let's say, in the short term. I think the disc brake will increase faster in US, mainly because the companies, the OEs, they became more global, and the products in the end I became more global. Mainly in the North Hemisphere, we have let's say common platform from all, I can say almost 100 of the OEs in the truck side, for example, they are trying to commonize the platforms, using the same frames or the same design in the end, the same axles, the same engine, the same gearbox, and blah, blah, blah. And that things makes then more profitable because they have less part to manage. They can commonize the things and make the things cheaper in the end. And when you go to Europe, for example, I can easily say that more than 85-90% of the trucks, they are delivered with disc brakes, with ABB. Yeah, and they are out. Those companies are basically merged or basically the same. The ones that we have in the US with some different names or brands, but in the end they are the same companies, and they will try to commonize that technology. In the other side, the the pads or the ABB. They offer a few advantages in terms of weight, in terms of size, in terms of energy dissipation. Yeah, there is a kind of trade-off on that. But on the other hand, it's a little bit more expensive, not so much, but it's still being a little bit more expensive and also more complex because the drum brake, it's maybe 30 or 40 years old. And basically we have the same design, the same solution since decades. Yeah, and it's for sure that it's cost more than new technology.
Sure.
And I'm pretty sure that the things will move in that direction fastly in US.
Mm-hmm.
But coming back to your point that maybe in the future, in the long-term future, but maybe for some passenger cars in the first, I can say in the first step, they can thinking about coming back for drums because they are easy to fit, for example, inside of a rotor or an electric motor, if you'd like to keep everything inside of the wheel, for example. Yeah, if you look in the market, you see that there is some companies offering some solutions on the in-wheel motors, electric motors, with the brake using basically the drum brake concept also together.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Interesting. Well, Cesar, this has been great. I really appreciate you joining me today.